Lord forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack make it backflip. Telly Hank did with the action. With the vital speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby May. Just caught a touchdown from the bay.
During power outages and tornadoes, we obtained an arrest warrant.
Steele was picked up at a home on Tyrone Street with several other people. He is now charged with committing a triple homicide in Gentilly, where investigators say he was caught on camera. Days later, the NOPD says he killed Shane Brown, whose body was found in a New Orleans East canal.
Tonight, New Orleans is a city in crisis.
Police are looking for leads.
Extremely violent crime wave.
The teenage boy is now dead.
Shot and killed overnight.
Dubbed the murder capital of the country.
They got us all again. They got you too. They almost killed me.
Top Story came to the Big Easy to investigate the violence. More than a dozen killings to start the year, picking up from an epidemic level in 2022.
There's an 18-year-old described as one of the city's most violent offenders is now in custody.
A grand jury indicted Tyrone Steele of killing 4 people, and investigators say more charges could be coming. Natasha Robin has the story.
This strong and necessary partnership is the reason that we are standing here today, announcing the grand jury indictment and the arrest of one of the most violent offenders in New Orleans.
18-year-old Tyrone Steele is in custody, indicted for 4 counts of first-degree murder and aggravated burglary.
These are literally killing machines in front of you.
After a grand jury indicted Steele last Wednesday and an arrest warrant obtained, NOPD officers along with state and federal investigators went on a manhunt, finding Steele in the 1800 block of Tyrone.
These officers took Steele and several other suspects into custody and confiscated these 7 guns that you're seeing before you today.
Police say Steele and an accomplice brutally murdered 2 men and a woman inside of a Gentilly apartment in the 4100 block of Encampment Street on March 21st.
Triple shooting in New Orleans leaves 1 woman and 2 men dead.
Rob Krieger joins us live from the 4100 block of Encampment Street.
Yeah, well, as the sun breaks over the St. Bernard neighborhood, investigators have left the scene here where they found 3 people killed early this morning. New Orleans police received a call sometime after 3 a.m. this morning of a shooting here at this apartment complex. Behind me, you see this 2-story building here. That's where investigators focused their investigation. When police arrived, they found 3 people killed, 2 men and 1 woman there in one of the apartments there in that building. Investigators were on scene for hours this morning. Crime scene detectives combing through the scene, looking for clues, trying to figure out exactly what happened. Some family members had showed up at one point, but no one wanted to speak with us. They were visibly distraught as they tried to figure out exactly what occurred in this building. Now, police say that all 3 victims were adults. They say that they are continuing their investigation. The coroner's office arrived here early this morning with 2 vans, and those investigators remained on the scene until a short time ago. At this moment, we don't have any additional information as far as the identities of those victims. The New Orleans Police Department says, as usual, they will be identified by the coroner's office.
Then 5 days later, police say Steele shot and killed 20-year-old Shane Brown at Morrison and Gannon Street. He's accused of committing 4 homicides in a matter of a couple of days.
This latest investigation is just a prime example of what happens when we all work together in law enforcement.
The NOPD, DA, state police, along with the ATF say the arrest is part of a collaborative effort to fight back against the most violent offenders.
We hear you, and we are surging back at this violent crime surge that we've been seeing in our city and in this country.
Steele is no stranger to police. Before turning 18, Steele was charged with attempted second-degree murder and his case transferred to the adult court. But the DA's office transferred the case back to juvenile court in April of last year. Then, 2 months later, police arrested Steele again, this time for second-degree murder.
Just not enough information for there to be a grand jury indictment. That is all we can really say to that at that point in time.
Ferguson says without enough evidence in the case, the DA's office refused the charges.
The NOPD says this investigation isn't over and they're trying to determine if Steele committed any other crimes.
We're confident we will be able to connect these individuals to additional violent crimes in the very near future.
It's progress made possible by teamwork. At a news conference Monday, the police chief applauded state and federal partners for helping get guns and dangerous offenders off the street.
None of us can do this alone,
including the public, who he is asking to step up to keep a close eye on the city's children. He says that is how we prevent the next tragedy from happening.
It's going to take the entire community to do their part, from faith-based to businesses to educators to everyone has some responsibility, elected officials, in getting our kids in a productive environment.
And so we also learned today that Tyrone Steele had been charged previously with another homicide, but he was not prosecuted for that case.
Damn, that's 5. Well, actually 6. I'll get to that in a minute. But what up, New Orleans? Shit got Popalot. We back on MOBB business. Now, today I'm going to be telling you guys about an 18-year-old in a 5-day span in March of 2022, and 3 separate homicide investigations in which authorities would say that he was responsible for taking 5 different lives. And the person that I'm talking about is going to be a guy by the name of Tyrone Steele. The 18-year-old Steele would end up being arrested just days before his 19th birthday. But before we highlight those 5 dates, I feel like we have to talk about the city of New Orleans for a second. Though we all know New Orleans to be a violent city from the wars that we heard about in the Calliope and the Melf and in the Magnolia, you could easily argue, and I am, that it's probably the most dangerous that it's ever been right now. To finish off 2022, New Orleans seen a spike in homicides with numbers not seen since over 2 decades ago in 1996. And shit, like I said, it's Chopper City in the ghetto. But it ain't even really like that no more, because this shit just go down all across New Orleans. As one day late in December, they had 9 shootings across 24 hours. And them shits hit Mid-City, the 7th Ward, the French Quarter, the East, the West Bank. Shit, we even seen shootings at Mardi Gras. So it's like in New Orleans, the violence is really not contained. And to me, that's what really makes it such a dangerous and a violent city, because it's no way to hone in on exactly where the violence is going to come from. And it really seems like the city is filled with guys like Tyrone Steele. And exactly what I mean by that is just the young boys just trained to go. So not to single New Orleans out, because you can find them in any big city. Chicago, New York, Detroit, Houston, LA. The list goes on. And with crime numbers skyrocketing across the United States, especially homicides, you could only expect in a city like New Orleans that was already violent and dangerous before this to get even more dangerous. And even though Tyrone Steele is being held by authorities now, charged with 5 murders, he's no stranger to this game, as he was initially charged with second-degree murder back in May of 2020. But the district attorney would choose to drop those charges less than a year later, on April 7th, 2021. Less than 2 months from his release, on June 17th, 2021, he would again be booked on another second-degree murder beef. It would be 6 months before those charges would be dropped, on December the 9th, when the DA's office will refuse to prosecute him. What type of shit is that? And if y'all keeping track, that's 2. And it leads us to the murderous month of March 2022, where on the 4100 block of Encampment Street, in an incident that was initially called in as an aggravated battery, 3rd District officers would arrive to the scene and locate 3 victims, 2 adult males and 1 adult female inside of an apartment, all having sustained gunshot wounds. The victims would be declared deceased on the scene and identified as 21-year-old Amaya Corin, 27-year-old Darren Williams, as well as 24-year-old Namaya Jones. Just 5 days after, while police were still trying to figure out clues on the triple murder on Encampment Street and an incident that would be originally reported as an unclassified death, 7th District officers would locate the body of an unidentified male floating in a canal near the intersection of Morrison and Gannon Roads. After an autopsy would be performed, police would identify the victim as 20-year-old Shane Brown. The autopsy would show that Shane Brown had been shot in the head, leading authorities to mark the death a homicide. A little less than a week would pass from Brown's homicide before authorities would take to the news, naming a suspect, plastering the face of 18-year-old Tyrone Steele, identifying him as the monster behind a series of murders. Now, if y'all keeping track at home, that's 6, but that wouldn't be it, because less than a month from when he was arrested, waiting for a trial date for the 4 murders, the NOPD would obtain an indictment on April 27, 2022, saying on March 21st, the same day as the triple murder on Encampment Street, they would find the body of an unknown individual in an advanced state of decomposition. The body would be located in an abandoned structure on the 4100 block of Hamburg Street. After an autopsy, authorities would not release the identity of the victim, only saying that he was a black male, but they would go on to charge Tyrone Steele with that murder as well, making a total 7, saying that they're quite sure that it's more violence that he was responsible for. So, for all my young niggas tuned in, living life like this Grand Theft Auto, let this one be a lesson to you. Because at the end, the piper is going to look for his payment. Y'all make sure y'all hit the red subscribe button right under this video so y'all know when this real, trill, spill shit is dropping. Y'all getting the comment box flooded. We everywhere with it. We doing all the requests. We talking about what y'all want to talk about. We covering who y'all want to cover. We going to the cities that y'all point us to. Y'all tell us who are the legends in y'all city. Who have we missed? What cities have we not covered? If you in the city that we did not cover, y'all get in the comment box. Matter of fact, y'all hit me on IG, Twitter, POP_A_LOT. And y'all stop it, man. I know how I'm rocking like cut off stocking, man. We going to be back in a minute with more mob shit. Shit got Popalot. Mob, gang,